It's time for Baby and Toddler Instructions with host Blythe Lipman. Blythe is a nationally renowned infant and toddler expert who has over 30 years' experience helping moms and dads regain their sanity, teaching them how to survive, and giving them the confidence they need to be the best parents ever. From sleeping to crying to potty training to choosing a preschool and so much more. If you're a parent, Baby and Toddler Instructions is the show you've been looking for. Now here's your host, Blythe Lipman.
Well, good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever in the world you might be. Thanks so much for tuning in to Baby and Toddler Instructions today. My name is Blythe Lipman. In case you didn't hear the commercial, I'm a baby and toddler expert, and I love what I do, and I love having my show. If you're listening live, today is Wednesday, April 13th. People say 13 is a bad number. I think it's good luck. Anyway, if you have any questions, comments, or just want to say hi, you can call anytime during the show on our toll-free number, 877-864-4869. I love callers. Maureen, if you're out there, call us. And if you're listening to a podcast, you can always contact me via my website, mybestparentingadvice.com. All my shows are available 24/7 on toginet.com. iTunes, Stitcher, and of course, mybestparentingadvice.com. I've had over 200 plus shows. And if you want to be a guest, you know what? Go to my website, or you can always call the toginet.com, send them a note, or call them and tell them you want to be a guest on my show. They have lots of wonderful shows. Take a look, toginet.com. So many wonderful hosts and great topics. But anyway, I can't wait to talk to my guest this morning in just a few minutes. Her name is Sari Powazek. She's from the Dollhouse Toy Store and Playtime Oasis. And we're going to be talking about hands-on play versus screen time and so much more. But first, there were a couple of recalls, and they are already on my website, mybestparentingadvice.com. IKEA recalled the children's bat cape costumes due to a strangulation hazard. It said the fabric hook and loop fastener at the neck of the bat cape can fail to detach readily. I don't know why it detaches. Maybe if you take the wings off during use, posing a strangulation hazard. So that's IKEA children's bat cape costumes. And you know how little ones love to put on Batman, Superman. You know, it doesn't have to be Halloween. It's called the Lat-Jo, L-A-T-T-J-O bat cape. Also, one more, Rainbow Play Systems recalled plastic yellow trapeze rings. The rings can unexpectedly crack or break during that. Now, that's if you have one of those play systems in your yard. You know, the big ones, and they can swing with the rings. Well, these rings can break. So if you have something from the Rainbow Company, check them out. I have everything on my website along with the other recalls. Please do not try to fix things yourself. I say this every week, even though it might look easy. Call the company, get a replacement, whatever they're going to give you, because it takes 2 seconds for an accident to happen. And even though you may think you're fixing it, let the companies take the responsibility. So a couple of things before I talk to Sari. Since we're going to be talking all about children and play, there was a great article in the New York Times called How to Raise a Creative Child. And it's really interesting because it says, you know, they learn to read at age 2, play Bach at age 4, breeze through calculus at age 6. My goodness, I couldn't do that now. Anyway, but, you know, to paraphrase T.S. Eliot, their careers tend to end not with a bang, but with a whimper. It said children prodigies rarely become adult geniuses who change the world. What holds the kids back is that they're not original. They strive to earn the approval of their parents and the admiration of their teachers. And as they perform at Carnegie Hall and become chess champions, something unexpected happens. Practice makes perfect, but it doesn't make new. So, you know, too much parental pressure stops kids from learning to think for themselves. You know, if you watch a little toddler, and when they just, you know, once they walk, even a baby, before they walk, watch how they explore things. You know, babies put everything in their mouth, but you'll see they'll take it out and they'll look at it. Or if they're in the high chair, they'll take something and they'll throw it on the floor. not because they want to get you upset because you have to pick it up 4,000 times. It's cause and effect. And they'll look at things, with a toddler, my favorite thing is to watch toddlers play dress up, or little boys, they always play games with sticks. You'll see little girls play dolls. You be the mommy, you be the baby, I'll be the daddy. And you see little boys, especially the 2.5, 3-year-olds, it's so cute. They'll go, okay, this is my gun, and we need to go get them, and here's the enemy. I mean, I don't know that that's such a great game either. However, what I'm really saying, and this article is saying, don't put too much pressure on your child. Let them be creative. If they like to help you in the kitchen, if they spill something, so what? Teach them how to wipe it up. Little ones love to help. But don't be so strict that you want them to be perfect. Let them be original, because that's what it's all about. None of us are alike. Everybody's different. And my gosh, there's nothing more exciting than watching your child be creative. And we're going to talk about that with Sari in just a bit. Also, how I love to share things from my books. I have 3 books: Help My Baby Came Without Instructions, More Help My Baby Came Without Instructions, and Help My Toddler Came Without Instructions. And summer's going to be here before we know it. I have a chapter in Help My Toddler Came Without Instructions called Mommy, I'm Bored. And, it's so easy to do something with your child that doesn't cost money. You don't have to get in the car. Something as simple as movie time. Plan a movie date. Sit down with your toddler, watch a movie, and let them pick out their snacks. Give them a bowl and let them pick out healthy snacks, or pretzels or raisins or whatever you're going to give them. Let them be a part of it, and sit down and have fun and watch a movie with them. Also, with springtime coming, this will take a little trip to get some seeds or flowers. Let them plant something. Let them plant a flower and get them a little watering can, and let them water it, and let them see how a flower blooms, or even vegetables or herbs, whatever you want to do. It's so creative, and they're so excited when that happens, and take lots of pictures, because they love to keep looking at the pictures. One more thing, and I love this. If it's raining, watch the raindrops on the window and see which one wins. They're having a race. You have to see which one wins. And that is such an easy game. And you know what? It's going to rain sometime. And I'll tell you what, you won't believe how you can sit there for 15 minutes. So those are a few of my tips from Help My Toddler Came Without Instructions. So we are going to have a break, but you know what? Before the break, I want to tell you about my guest, and we can say good morning to her before we get into our questions and everything we're going to talk about. Her name is Sari Powazek. She has a store that's been around for so many years. Sari, you're going to have to tell us how many years, because I can't remember.
It's been since 1977.
Wow. Well, you know what? It's a wonderful store. Sari is great. She has a master's degree in early education and believes that children learn through play. The first 5 years are so important for developmental and cognitive skills, because they learn by touching, doing, working problems out through play. And it's so important to talk to them, to read to your child. And, Sari says avoid as much electronic and screen time as possible. And I know our world has changed. And at the end of the show, I'm going to say how important it is. I have a quote that I absolutely love, but you're going to have to wait till the end of the show to hear it from me. But the thing is that you want your child to be able to explore. So, Sari, we're going to break in a little bit, but, I want to say good morning to you and say thank you so much for being on the show. And before we actually get into questions, and I want you to share, your expertise, tell my listeners about your store and tell them how it all started.
It started because I wanted a toy store. I had always wanted a toy store. I did not have much growing up. And when we saw the opportunity to jump on board, we did. And it's been a fun experience. We have watched children grow up. They're coming back to us with their children and even some with their grandchildren. Makes me feel a little old, but it also warms my heart to know that we have touched so many lives. we love to play. We moved a couple of years ago and opened up an indoor play area designed for children 5 and under. Again, very tactile, manipulative, creative play. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff on the floor when the kids get done playing. And it is true. They explore, they touch, they feel, and they go on to the next thing. And each experience gives them a different view on what the world is all about. And fortunately, in Playtime Oasis, which is what we call the play area, the kids have the opportunity to explore different things and different toys that they don't have at home.
You know, and it's so great. It's the greatest place to watch these little ones have so much fun, and, you know, even watch the parents talk, because there's nothing better than networking with another parent while their children are playing. You know, it makes us all feel better that our children are maybe doing what theirs are doing with sleeping and that kind of thing. But I do want to share something. I run an infant room in a preschool. 6 weeks to 12 months are my little babies, and a lot of them are almost getting to be a year old. We're getting some new little ones. And I'm going to take a picture and post it on Facebook and my page, because we have lots of great toys, and it takes them about 10 minutes, and every single thing is on the floor. It looks like World War III hit it, and to watch these babies go from one thing to the next. And every morning I look at these toys and I think, do we have too many toys out? And it's funny because they go back and forth with the different toys, and they feel them, and yes, they go in their mouth, and we have to wash them 50 times, and that is fine. But it's so interesting to watch how these babies have changed, and how some of them are pulling themselves up, and they'll take a toy off the shelf, and then they take a toy away from one of their other little baby friends. So I am going to do a blog post, you know, in the next couple of weeks, and I'm going to take a picture of our floor in our preschool, because it really warms my heart. I look at it and I think, yeah, you know what? It's not a mess. It's an exploration, and this is how these little babies are learning, and they have so much fun. But Sari, it's a riot, because they don't know about sharing, and when they take a toy away from the other one and one cries and then you give it back or you find something else, they're very easy to redirect. It's so cute to watch them learn about sharing, because under 12 months they can't share. They don't have a clue. And
no, they can't share it a year either, Blythe.
They can't either. But anyway, we have to share our commercial break. I don't want to interrupt you. When we come back from our commercial, we're going to talk all about screen time versus toys without batteries. We're going to be talking to Sari Powazek. Here comes the music. We will be right back.
We'll be right back with more Help My Baby Came Without Instructions. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. We'll be right back right after these.
Welcome to Geraldine Tegelove Live, the show that shares with you the secrets of redefining, reinventing, and rebuilding your life. Having pulled herself from the rubble of financial ruin and having gone on to create a highly successful career, Geraldine has become an expert in the art of transformation. She believes that it doesn't matter where you are right now, how overwhelmed you feel, or how impossible the task of turning your life around may seem. You can do it. Stay tuned as metaphysician, international best-selling author, and intuitive Geraldine Tegelove gives you the inner understanding and the outer practical how-to to create your amazing life. Gain a fresh perspective on how to redefine, reinvent, and rebuild your life. Join Geraldine Tegelove live every Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the TogiNet Radio Network.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
Looking at the labels on food to see the calorie count, sodium, fat, etc. is a good thing and will help you make smart choices when buying food. But be sure to pay attention to the serving size. Oreo cookies have only 160 calories per serving, but a serving is only 3 cookies, not 6 cookies like most people eat. Canned soups, cereals, and cooking sprays are all tricky when trying to watch calorie and sodium intake. Coffee creamers are another overlooked source of fat and calories. Some list nutritional information based on a single teaspoon, even though many people have much more. Fat-free creamers lead people to think they're only getting 10 calories, when a 2-tablespoon serving, a more realistic serving size, would add 50 calories. Be sure to look at serving size on the food labels. For the Fitness Minute, I'm Annette Hammond.
Welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet, the hour for all moms with little ones to come for great advice, encouragement, and great ideas for all new parents. Now, back to the show with Blythe Lipman.
Well, welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions. I am here with my wonderful guest, Sari Powazek from the Dollhouse, Toy Store, and Playtime Oasis. And we are going to talk all about toys. During the break, I was speaking with Sari, and she said something so wonderful. Her store is just terrific, and the Playtime Oasis where the children can go in and play is great. But she said, after the show, I'm going to get dressed and get to go play all day. And how wonderful to love your job and go play and watch the kids. I mean, her store, and it's just wonderful. But here's my question, Sari. Do the little ones really need an iPhone or an iPad or all these things and tablets and...
No. In one word,
Clapping.
No. The parent needs that. The parent gives it to the child to occupy the child while they're doing something. And really, they're much better off with a rattle or the Cleanimals or a paper book, something that occupies their time. We have something so simple as baby paper that'll occupy a baby for 5 minutes. That's so much better than the flashing lights, which is detrimental to the development of the brain.
What's that?
It affects the neurons.
What did you say, baby paper?
Baby paper or Cleanimals designed by moms.
What is that?
Baby paper, the crinkly paper in a cloth that you can wash. It's just that crinkly sound that the kids love. It's about a 5 by 5 inch square. And
I know what that is.
Yeah, and the babies love it. There's so many things to occupy your child with that it's so bad for the brain development. Because when you give the child an iPhone, it's lights, it's flashing, they're pushing buttons. They don't even know what they're doing. And the pictures are changing so quickly that the neurons do not have time to connect and go back. And there's so many studies showing that this is having such a bad effect. There's so many children with hyperactivity now, and they're attributing a lot of that to the flashing lights that you see on these screens. It's just not good.
You know what's interesting?
Necessary.
Because it's funny, I've had moms say to me, sometimes I can't get my baby to take a nap or go to sleep. And many times I will say, well, do you let them play with your iPhone or an iPad? They're so overstimulated that they can't calm down. I mean, even for us, they tell you, don't put your phone next to you in your bed. And or
they tell you don't read on your iPad or don't be on your computer for within an hour before you're planning on going to bed. So, if it's detrimental to adults, imagine what it does to an infant.
Oh, my goodness, I know.
And I'm not saying that the electronics are bad. There's a lot of good in the electronics. I have a grandson that questions and questions and questions, and finally it gets to the point where I say, I think I have to look that up. And so we'll snuggle together on the couch, and we'll look up a specific item about an animal or something that is visual that takes space and time. You're not flashing. So it's not completely terrible for the child, but you need to use it judiciously.
Now, you know what? That's such a good tip. It's interesting because I posted a picture of my grandson on Facebook. I was so excited because he is 11 months old and he likes books. And I love to sit with him. He has no clue. He obviously can't read, but he loves touching the books and trying to turn the pages. Maybe they go in his mouth.
And that's why you buy the board books or the cloth books. Right. Because the board books, they can turn. We've got some easy turning books that are fabulous for the little ones. And do they eat the books? Absolutely. So what? It's not poisonous. It won't hurt them. It'll come out the other end.
What do you think about the books that have like the animals and you push something and they bark or they moo or?
That's okay. There's nothing wrong with a battery toy. A lot of times people think, oh, I don't want anything with batteries. It depends on what it is. If you have a toy where you push the button, that's cause and effect. But if you are sitting there with a child and you say, dog, and you push the button, and they hear the sound of the dog, and you say, what does the dog say? And they try and mimic it. That's fabulous. That's cause and effect. That teaches them if you do something, you will get a reaction. That's important. That's very important for learning later on in life. You have to practice. You have to do it over and over again. It doesn't come easy. That's what they're learning with cause and effect. I push the button, something happens. I do it again, something happens. I do it again, something happens.
It's like the high chair. I throw the toy on the floor, something happens. Mommy picks it up.
That's right. I get mommy's attention.
Yeah, no, it's cause and effect. It is, and that is how they learn. What do we do, though? You know, this is a scary thing because what do we do? You know, so many, not so many, but a lot of kindergarten classes have computers. Some of the preschools even have computers for the pre-K classes. And
computers have a place. Like I said, when you use it to teach something, not to just occupy the child where they're pushing buttons. There are a lot of fabulous learning games out there, but you sit with your little one and you play it for 10 minutes. Nothing wrong with it. It's when you go out for dinner and you see an entire family glued to their phones. There's no socialization. What the computer has started to do is actually desensitize us to being social.
It really has. It really has. You know, there was... Go ahead.
When you give your child the phone, you're saying, don't look at the world around you. Don't see what's going on.
No,
because they are so focused.
Isn't it interesting? Because I remember with my kids, and you probably did the same thing, we used to play with the sugar packets. They would take them out, and they would put them in, and they would take them out, and they would put them in. There weren't phones.
Right. Or you would take the straw paper and you would make an accordion, and then you would drip drops of water on it and it would turn into a snake. You played I Spy. Visual clues like that are so important to reading. They're focusing on individual items. I spy something red. Okay, you need a hint. I spy something red that has arms. I spy you're using verbal cues, so they're using their visual, they're using their auditory, they're using their brain. And that's what you want to do. You want to develop that brain because so much of the brain development in the first 5 years, I don't even remember the stats, but it is huge.
Well, you know, I love that game. And there's a book, I don't know if you have it in your store, you probably do, called I Spy. And there's things hidden, you know, when they get a little older. I remember having this book. It's so many years ago, and you have to find this dog or sheep or something in the middle of everything else.
But Blythe, we do this with our 1-year-old when we're sitting and we're reading a board book or a storybook, and we say, "Where's the dog?" That's I Spy.
Of course, it's I Spy. You know,
and the best thing is to say, not "Where's the dog?" Where's the brown dog with the red spots?
And it's so easy, and it's so much fun, and that's what the kids remember. Sari, what do you think if you went to a restaurant and they had a basket and you had to put your phone in it before they gave you a table? Wouldn't that be an interesting experiment? I think that would be a great experiment.
There are restaurants that are doing that, Blythe.
Are there?
Yeah.
Well, I think that would be great because it's terrible to look around at the restaurant and nobody's talking. And then you go the next step. There was another interesting article in the New York Times this week about how this woman was so excited because she got a written thank you note. Now, who writes a thank you note anymore? That can't go away. It's so important.
Mm-hmm. I have started a new thing. I just got back from being with my grandchildren, and what I am going to do, we did some very simple science experiments that they could recreate and do for their parents when their parents got home that night. And I'm going to send each one of them, they're twins, each one of them a letter every week starting next week. It could have a joke in it. It could have a picture in it. It could have it doesn't matter what it is, just the fact that they're getting a letter individually addressed to them that they can respond to. They're learning how to write. They're going to write me back a letter. And I've already spoken with my daughter. And it's something that they have to consciously sit down and do. And at 5, they have to have their parent consciously do it with them. But it's so important to communicate.
You know what? You know what you're going to see? And as they get older and have their own families, those letters are going to be pulled out, and they're going to do the same thing when they have children. What a great idea. You should write a blog post about that. What a great idea to do that, because that's what's missing. Nobody picks up the phone. Not nobody, but most people don't pick up the phone.
No, they text.
They text. Texting drives me nuts, and then you don't answer the text, or then the text, you think somebody said something and they didn't say something because there's no expression in a text. Even the little emoticons, I don't think they cut it. I think that's wonderful. What a great thing. How old are your
They're going to be 6
now?
in June.
Oh
and,
my gosh,
it's so interesting because my daughter does keep them off the computer. They get 10 minutes each. Then she actually puts the timer on. And now they can finish the game if they're toward the end. But, they're outside playing in the rain. We were playing basketball, and they are amazing. Sean and Ethan can make a shot 15 feet away on the run on a 7-foot hoop. It's amazing. So I said to them, why are you so good? And Sean looks at me and says, because I practice every day. What you do when you do a tradition, when you do something over and over with your children, you teach them. You have to do this. You want to get good? You need to do it every day. You need to read a book every day, not on the iPad. You need to hold a book. You need to turn the pages. Sean read us a 64-page book. Ethan, who is an excellent reader, got a different book to read. It wasn't 64 pages, but they sat and they read. They're in kindergarten. That's because they do it every single day. You start traditions, you start patterns. It's just a subtle way of teaching them, this is work. This is what you need to do. You want to get good? You need to read every day.
Well, Sari, we have a tradition here. And the producer is typing to me that we're going to break for a commercial. So if we keep talking, the music is going to get loud.
Okay.
That's the tradition at TogiNet. When we come back from our commercial break, I want to talk to you about multifunctional toys and toys that grow, because there's so many great toys out there. So we will be right back.
And we have a few in the store.
You have a lot. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Baby love, my baby love, I need you, I need you.
We'll be right back with more help. For help, my baby came without instructions. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. We'll be right back right after these.
Baby love, my baby love, I need you, I need you.
Information about book publishing is power. The power to change your authoring life. And the power to change the lives of your readers. So join us for Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific. You'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now. As the book shepherd, Dr. Judith Briles is in. And each week, she will include publishing professionals that will reveal tips and secrets to the author's journey. If there is a book in you want to listen, learn, and yes, call in with your questions each week. For more on Judith and what she can do for you, check out her website, thebookshepherd.com. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know, but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by Author You and The Book Shepherd, with your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
Strong and flexible core muscles fortify almost everything we do. Harvard Medical School encourages us to think of our core muscles as the sturdy central link in a chain connecting your upper body and lower body. No matter what daily tasks you are doing, the necessary motions either originate in your core or move through it. So an inflexible and weak core can impair how well your arms and legs perform. Strengthening your core activates power and helps you accomplish tasks easily and without pain. A strong core can prevent low back pain, that affects 4 out of 5 Americans at some point in their life. When back pain occurs, a routine of core exercises is often prescribed to relieve it. Focus on keeping your core strong. I'm Annette Hammond. Like us on Facebook at Fitness Minute with Annette Hammond.
Welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet, the hour for all moms with little ones to come for great advice, encouragement, and great ideas for all new parents. Now, back to the show with Blythe Lipman.
Well, welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions. Sari Powazek from the Dollhouse Toy Store and Playtime Oasis and I are talking all about screen time versus books versus playing one-on-one. And before the break, we were talking about, Sari was talking about her grandson. She has 6-year-old twins, boys, and their basketball and how they practice every day. And, you know, she was sharing that if your child likes something and you want to do it with them, like reading or looking at books, yes, do it every day, but do it every day because you want to and it's fun. And when, I have to say this because this was what was on my mind when you were saying this, Sari, when you are doing something with your little one every day, you know, whether it's a skill, whether you're teaching them to tie their shoes, whatever it is, be fully present. Do not have your cell phone in your ear while you're doing something with your child. Please put your phone down. Be there because they know. And as they get older, you'll see so many times. I've seen children go, Mommy, you're not listening to me. And they can feel it and they know it. And so be fully present when you do something with your little ones and love every minute because they grow up so quickly. So, Sari, let's talk a little bit about multifunctional toys. There's toys that, you know, grow with children. It's not, you know, they're not going to look at their book at 2, at 6. So tell my listeners a little bit about that.
Well, there's magnetic toys that are simple balls and bars and curves, and you know, magnets are magical. Kids love them. But at 1-year-old, they're just going to attach the ball to the magnet, or they're going to put the ball on the ground and they're going to take the bar and they're going to go closer to the ball, and the ball is going to jump up and hit the magnet and held there, and they're going to look at it, and then they can turn it into a microphone. Well, that's the simple play. As you're sitting there and playing with them, you can do a simple shape, and you can say, oh, triangle, square, rectangle. So now they're learning words. It's visual, it's auditory. As they get a little bit bigger, you can say to them, make a square of the magnets, make a rectangle. So now they've got the tactile and the visual and the auditory. You're just using so many different senses. And that's so important to learning, to be so aware. As you said, give your child the full attention because that's using all your senses, and the child does understand that. Then as the child gets a little bit bigger, then they can start building three-dimensional shapes. Then it's physics. They can build an arch. There's so many different things to do. Another toy that is so fabulous, it's one of my favorites. It is a tractor, and it hauls 5 animals. Well, you push a button and the lights blink and the horn goes on. You push another button and the tractor will actually pull it. You put the farmer in the seat and it plays Old MacDonald. You take the pig, you put it in the special spot that only the pig can fit into, and you push it down and it says it makes the sound of the animal. How many different things are you learning? So much cause and effect. You're hearing, you're seeing, you're playing, you're creating, you're imagining. You take the farm animals and you go for a walk with the horse. Or you put a little doll on the horse and now you're riding the horse. Just so many different things that you can do with different toys. And even some of the simple toys that you think you can't do anything with, you can. You're sitting there, you're talking. Talking is huge. The child is listening. They're just sucking in all this information. It's just amazing to watch, and you see the wide-eyed wonder, especially the first time, or when they finally are able to do what you're teaching them to do by themselves. Oh, my gosh, they'll clap for themselves. And that is so good for building the ego. This is all part of learning, and we need to do this when they're young. When we were growing up, it was, they're babies. They can't think. I have seen babies as young as 6 months pick something. You take 2 items, you put it behind your back, and you mix them up again, and you hold the same 2 items out, and the baby will go to the same item, even if it's in a different hand. Children think, They have feelings. They respond. And that's why we need to give them our full attention, not put them on an iPad. You're better off, even if your child is bored, so to speak, because you're doing something and they need to wait a minute, they're better off looking around them than pushing buttons on an iPhone, and they have no clue. One of my big bugaboos is I'll say to people, are your children doing puzzles? And I've had some parents go, oh, yes, they're doing puzzles on the iPhone. No, it's not the same thing. They're touching a piece and it goes to the right spot. They're not picking up the piece, manipulating it, looking at the male and the female parts, where it's got the little loop that goes into the other part. They're not looking at that. They're not matching up the colors. They're not looking visually to see the exact spot. Or, oh my, I know this goes here, but this one doesn't work, so let's twist it and turn it. Let's turn it upside down. Maybe that'll work. They're not learning to think when you give them an iPhone. They learn to think by manipulating and doing and actually physically holding.
You know what's interesting, too? When you give a puzzle to maybe a 6-month-old or 7-month-old, of course they don't understand what they're supposed to do with it. They eat it, or you know what they love to do? Those big puzzle pieces that fit the little hands, they love to bang them, and they're learning about noise. And they're learning, that's another learning way. They do not have to learn how to put the piece in there when they're 6 or 7 months old.
Right. Blythe, you just asked me about activity time for your 11-month-old grandson. He's sitting on your lap. They're singing songs. They're hearing stories. They're shaking eggs. They're doing musical instruments. She takes out a puppet and Elmo, and Elmo gives them a kiss on the cheek while they're singing the Elmo song. They're clapping hands. Then they're sitting on a parachute, and they're seeing things pop. Any exposure to anything other than an iPhone that you give your child is a learning experience. It doesn't matter how young. At 3 months, when their sight starts to really sharpen, you show them white and black. You show them, something that makes noise. You see their eyes focus on it. They are learning at that young age.
They're like sponges.
Absolutely.
I've always said I wish they did languages earlier than in junior high or high school.
Oh, I have many multilingual children that come into the store. We've had parents that are learning Chinese or Japanese because they're American, and their parents when they came over, did not speak the language to them. Well, they want their children to learn it. That's why they've got all these immersion schools where you've got English and Spanish or Chinese and English. And these children are 3 years old, and they're learning these languages. They're like sponges, and they know the difference. They know that if they're talking to me, they need to talk in English. If they're talking to their grandmother, they can speak in Chinese. She understands them.
That's so great. It's interesting because I had an instance with somebody a couple weeks ago, and they were Hispanic, and mom didn't really understand English great, but she had 2 little girls, and the 6-year-old was talking to her mother in Spanish and speaking to me in English, and I thought, my gosh, this is so great. She knows these languages. And I thought it was just wonderful. I so wish they did it earlier.
It doesn't matter what you do with your young child. They will learn something from it.
Yes, and they watch you. When you were talking about speaking to your child and watching their eyes, they're looking at you. They're always watching to see what you're doing. And I have parents that say they work full time and they take their little ones home from school and they're trying to get their dinner ready and they say, I don't know what to do with my baby and she's cranky. Something as simple as putting them in the high chair and giving them a Tupperware and a wooden spoon.
Exactly.
You don't have to go. You don't need the electronics. You don't have to turn on the TV. Although I do have to say that there is a baby channel that has a lot of educational things, including Spanish, and it's okay once in a while, but to make it a diet every single day with the TV and the electronics, it's not great because, as you can hear what Sari said, it's so easy, to do things with your little ones. Like I said from my book, watch the raindrops and see who wins the race. You don't have to go any place. You just need to look at your window.
Mm-hmm. Or rain is the perfect time to go out and splash in puddles.
Oh, yes. You know what? It's only water, and kids love it. And they love the memories, too, that you're making.
Mm-hmm. And what's so nice now is when our kids were little, we had cameras. You had to pay to have film developed. And most children do not remember much before 5. Well, you have all these beautiful digital pictures and videos that these children are actually watching themselves grow up and seeing the differences in what they could do when they were 6 months or 9 months or 12 months. And, they're watching their first steps. These are great memories. These are opportunities. One of my taglines is creating tomorrow's memories today. And that's really what it is, because tomorrow will always come. Today is gone. You need to take each moment and relish your child, because even though you're in the throes of the terrible twos, these too will pass.
It will
pass.
Then
they're gone.
And you know what? And you'll look back and go, well, you know what? It wasn't that bad, and it wasn't that long. Because I know for my infants in my baby room, I send parents pictures all the time, all day, to let them see what their children are doing. So, yes, we're not totally putting down technology and iPhones. There's a place for everything. And I know during the break, my parents love seeing the pictures of their babies, especially when they first start in preschool. It's really scary to leave your baby and you have to go to work and you wonder all day, what's the baby doing? And, I try all the time to send a picture, but I will tell you, and you probably see this with your grandchildren, once you have all those pictures, they want to look at them and watch the videos again and again and again, and they never go away. And it's great. So take all those pictures, take the pictures, take the videos. Even my 11-month-old grandson, if I show him a video of himself, it cracks me up. He sits there and laughs at himself.
Exactly.
And it's so much fun to do. So we're always creating memories. We're gonna have a commercial break in just a few seconds. But go ahead. 30 seconds.
One time we went to the farmer's market and I picked up my grandson, and my husband says, "Why are you carrying him? He's so heavy." And I said, "Because I don't know when he's not going to ask me to do it again."
Oh, boy.
So you never know when the last of something will be, so just relish it.
No, relish it you don't. You know what? That's perfect, because there's nothing better than those hugs and holding your grandchildren. I mean, mine's still a baby, so I can still pick them up and hug them and carry them around. It's so much fun. But when we come back from the commercial break, I am going to ask Sari to share one or two of her favorite parent and grandparenting tips. So we'll be right back. Stay with us.
We'll be right back with more Help My Baby Came Without Instructions. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. We'll be right back right after these.
Have you heard? The pages of American Patchwork and Quilting magazine come to life on our new weekly online radio show, American Patchwork and Quilting. Join Pat Sloan, our blogging and quilt designer host, as she talks about the latest trends, ideas, and inspirations. Her guests include quilt pattern designers, authors, quilt shop owners, and our editors, all quilters, just like you. Call in with your questions. Get quilting tips from industry experts. Learn about free patterns. Hear behind-the-scenes stories from our magazines, American Patchwork and Quilting, Quilt Sampler, and Quilts and More. Get the scoop on free stuff and find out more about the best independent quilt shops in North America. To listen to a live show, tune in Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Just log on to allpeoplequilt.com/radio. To hear past shows, go to iTunes and search for American Patchwork and Quilting Radio. We hope you'll join us, because we know that quilting changes everything.
It's words you never heard.
An article in Mental Floss magazine listed some actual town names in the United Kingdom that are sure to bring a chuckle to American tourists. Would you like to live in the village of Upton Snodsbury? It's near North Piddle. How about Picklechurch in lovely South Gloucestershire? Or Barton and the Beans in Curry Mallet? How about a vacation in Mudford Sock or Puddletown, an adorably named spot in Dorset? But my favorite town is found in Buckinghamshire. It's called Blubber Houses. I'd like to send a big thank you to all of the brave men and women of our armed forces serving at home and abroad. We appreciate all the good you do in the world on behalf of America.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my new app, Too Funny for Words.
Welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet, the hour for all moms with little ones to come for great advice, encouragement, and great ideas for all new parents. Now, back to the show with Blythe Lipman.
Okay, so you're 10 years old. You have a laptop, an iPod, a Facebook, iPhone, and a flat screen TV. When I was 10, I only had one thing to play with. It was called outside. I'm here with my guest, Sari Powazek from the Dollhouse Toy Store and Playtime Oasis, and we've been talking all about screen time and toys and, you know, how our children grow up so fast and you have to be there and do things with them and enjoy it. So, Sari, tell my listeners where to find you on Facebook.
The Dollhouse and Toy Store in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's Facebook, so it would be facebook.com, AZ Dollhouse Toys, I think. AZ Dollhouse Toys, I think is the tagline. But we are on Facebook, and we post lots of different events that we do. We love to create memories, as I said, so we do a lot of tea parties. We just had a unicorn party, and next up would be a Rapunzel tea party, and Rapunzel will be there. And the children will learn princessy things and do some arts and crafts and have special treats and sing songs, and it's just a fun time to spend a couple of hours with your child.
And it's,
so it's all
such
about
a fun
creating
place.
memories.
It is such a fun place to go. So if you don't live in Arizona and you come to visit, especially with your families, you know, make sure you put that on the list. And if you forget where it is or what it is, you can go to mybestparentingadvice.com, and I will give you the directions and the phone number. And, you know, your children will make memories there. You'll never forget. It's such a great place. So, Sari, before the break, I said I was going to ask you to share your favorite parent or grandparent tips, one or two, or whatever you want to share.
Well, I think the most important tip is to spend time with your child. I can remember there was one summer where my kids, each one of them, different summers, would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's bright. The sun is shining at 5 in the morning in Arizona in the summer. And rather than go, and drag them into bed with me and try and get them to go back to sleep, we would get up and we would make cookies. Was it messy? You gotcha. But there's nothing better than watching your toddler measure flour, pour it into the mixer, take their teething, their drooling fingers and put it into the cookie dough and eat the cookie dough. I eat cookie dough. I eat cake batter, and I'm still alive, so it's okay.
And you make great cookies, too.
Yeah, and it's so much fun to watch and do this with your child because they're creating something from taking all these different ingredients. So you're doing math when you're measuring. You're doing chemistry when you take and mix everything together, and then you bake it, and they walk up to their daddy and they say, "Look what I made for you, Daddy." You know, they're learning so much out of it besides just giving back. And I watch my daughter bake with boys. You know, it's wonderful because it's something that goes on, and it's something from the heart. Another thing I love to do is arts and crafts. Because, they're creating something and they're looking at what they've created and you've hung it up and it's so special, or something that they made for Grandma and Grandpa that they can put on their tree, and they get, just praised for doing this wonderful piece of art. It's huge. So these are all things that I love to do. My mother was adamant about a clean house. Oh, there were days where you'd walk in my house and you would think a cyclone went through it. Because, yes, I worked. Yes, my kids went to preschool. But when my kids were home, if they wanted to play a game with me, I sat down and I played a game with them. Did we sit down and have dinner together every night? Absolutely. My daughter does the same thing. They sit at the dining room table. They have dinner together as a family. These are all things that create warm family relationships, and it gives you time to focus on the child as you talk about, well, what you do at school today. Did you play with your friend? Oh, and You know, another thing I love to do with my kids is I love to listen to them as they were doing their imaginative play, because so many times you hear about little things that are coming out that are bothering them, and you can talk to them about it. So again, my best parenting tip, spend time with your kids, because it just goes too fast. So, you know, I can't tell you what to play with, what to do. I can tell you I do have a pot that is bent out of shape when I put the lid on it, because the grandsons were playing with it, and it was a big pot, and they thought it would be fun to sit on it. It's okay.
It's a pot.
It's a pot. I can replace the pot, but I can't replace the giggles when they were sitting on that pot and taking turns. You know?
I can just imagine.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's a pot. I've had it for 50 years. Well, not quite, but I've had it for a long time. I don't care. I can replace that pot. I can't replace playing with the kids. Can't replace them putting things in and out of the pot and learning. Again, it's just spending time. The house will be clean eventually. The kids will be gone eventually. And everything will have its place. The one thing that you will be missing is the kids jumping on the couch and snuggling on your lap. Just take time. That's the best you can give to your children and your grandchildren.
That's, you know what, that's the greatest tip of all. And I do want to add something. You know, it's so important to sit down and have mealtime with your children, even if they're in a high chair. You know, make sure you bring them to the table, but don't beat yourself up if you can't do it every night. You know, parents, you have two parents that work and your children, you know, are in daycare, and you come home and the last thing you can do is all sit down to a dinner. If it's not every night, it's okay, but make sure, you know, maybe on a weekend you all sit down together, or maybe it's a breakfast. But it's a togetherness, even when they're in the high chair and they're not eating table food yet. You know, you can sing a song. Everybody wants to be a part of the family.
Right, but even if you're giving your child a sandwich for dinner, or as my daughter calls it, a free-for-all, when she doesn't know what or doesn't feel like cooking, and everybody gets to pick what they want. It could be an egg, it could be yogurt, whatever. But they're still sitting together and talking, even if the whole family is not there. They're still sitting together and talking. Food is one of the most basic, important things that we need in our life, food and a roof over our head. And when you're sharing food, you're sharing memories again. Again, it all goes back to creating traditions and memories. And the way you want your family to be is together. And that's the way to do it.
That is the way. And you'll see, you know, as your children get older, my children are grown up, and you know, when we get together, we talk about things when they were kids and what we did, and we sit and laugh at some of the things, you know, that I did as a mother, and I went, oh my goodness, did I actually make you wear that outfit? Or, you know, did I get your hair cut that short? It's funny when you look back, but the memories are so great. And, you know, we're not talking about cell phones, and we're not talking about, you know, having any of the electronics at the table. Don't let the electronics come to the table as your kids get older. Put them down. And I have to say, as parents, we know this. You set the best example. And if they see you on the phone at the table, or if you have a television on when you eat, that's the example you're setting. And that's what they're learning is okay. And it's not, in my opinion. And I know in Sari's as well.
No, and nobody's perfect.
Right.
You know, we have a toy store. Christmas time, when our kids were little, we closed at 5:30. Now we don't. But at that time, for November and December, it really, too, we had set the tradition that dinner was always together. So it's not like the kids would say, what are we having for dinner at those 2 months? It was, where are we going for dinner? And the rest of the year, it was, what are we having for dinner? And they knew that we were going to have dinner together, that no matter what happened, dinner was the time that all of us would sit down. Because as they get older, they go into their room. They want to read a book. They want to talk to their friends. They don't want to socialize with you as much. But if you establish the ground rules, you know you will always have that time together.
And that's just so important. So, Sari, I want to thank you so much for being on my show. And I will be in there with my grandson. And even though he doesn't walk, now I'm glad you told me, I have to bring him in so that we can come in and play and see you. And I have to tell you, this is hysterical. I have my cell phone turned off on my desk, and I have Siri. And Siri is typing everything I'm saying to you and trying to talk back to me. Talk about electronics. And I turned it off. So slapping my hand, shame on me, Blythe. And Siri, stop talking. No electronics. It's a radio show.
I know. I had someone in the store that was talking to Siri. She was texting to someone, and she was talking in the phone rather than typing them. I didn't even know mine could do that.
Oh, my gosh. Well, I'm just covered Siri up. This is not her business. Anyway, Sari, thank you so much for being on the show.
You are welcome, Blythe, and I look forward to meeting your grandson.
I look forward to bringing him in, and some bagels from the bagel band of my son. Okay, so have a great day. I'll see you soon. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I love Sari. As you heard, there are many, many, many ways for you, for your little ones to learn, and it doesn't need batteries, and you don't need screens. So don't forget, if you're in Arizona, please visit her store. I know she's working on a website, so that will be up pretty soon. So I will keep you posted, and I will also put the link to this show. For those of you who didn't hear it or you want to share, share this with your friends. I have lots of great shows coming up the rest of April and May. I have a terrific lineup of guests. Also interesting, I can't wait to do these shows and meet these wonderful guests. And so if you can't tune in on Wednesday mornings, 11 o'clock Eastern, go to mybestparentingadvice.com, toginet.com, iTunes, and Stitcher. You can always pull up the podcast. And, yes, they are Moby friendly, even though we're talking about not having screen time. If you go to the gym, if you want to listen to a podcast, if you have a question about something, you can see who my guests were, and they can answer your questions because we go through so many things. Also, don't forget my 3 books, Help My Baby Came Without Instructions, More Help, and Help My Toddler Came Without Instructions. Great gifts for these moms and all having new little babies in the spring. So I'd like to leave you today with these wonderful words of wisdom. Listen earnestly to anything your children want to tell you, no matter what. If you don't listen eagerly to the little stuff when they're little, they won't tell you the big stuff when they're big, because to them, all of it has always been big stuff. And finally, you're a mom when your idea of happy hour is a nap. Boy, isn't that the truth. So take some time each and every day to sit down with your children, no matter what age they are. Even if you have 10 or 15 minutes, talk to them. If they're babies, hug them, sing songs with them, love them. Everything you're doing is creating a memory that will last a lifetime. And if you watch your little ones and your older children, they're always looking at you to see what you're doing, and they love to copy. And isn't that the best compliment when you see your child doing something that you do or that you've taught them? So thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of the week, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.